Is the 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as sweet as we remember? Let's find out. Hello. Please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Have a seat. We'll put a movie on for you. This is Movies at Grandma's House, where we look at the movies from the past, see with our modern eyes it's good, and Grandma approves. And I'm your host, Isaac. We have so little to do and so much time. Wait, strike that. Reverse it. And who's considering with me the 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Why, it's Ajax. Who ever heard of a snozzberry?
And welcome one and all to Grandma's House. How are you, Ajax? You are our special guest this week. How are you?
I'm doing scrumdiddlyumptious. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm so excited to be considering this movie. It is one that we've had on our list. We have a list that we consider. And unfortunately, Seth's not able to be with us this week, but he sends his regards. He is, sad he missed out on this, but this is going to be a fun time. I think this is one that a lot of people have fond memories of. We'll get into that, obviously. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. I'm getting really, really excited to consider it. But before we do, we like to give the proper spoiler warning. So from here on out, if you have not seen this movie, consider yourself warned. This is going into spoiler territory. And if you love visiting Grandma's house, if you could, smash that subscribe. Be a part of the community, and we want to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the movies we cover, such as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? So that's what we're considering. Again, it's the 1971 with Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This was released back on June 30th, 1971, and it had a budget of $3 million. The box office was actually only about $4 million. I found that pretty interesting. It only made about a profit of $1 million, 1971 money, but still. Looking at the ratings, IMDb is about a 7.8, Rotten Tomatoes, 90%. So pretty good and positive reviews overall for this movie. We're going to get into the impact and pop culture, that type of thing. I think this is, again, one that people should be at least heard of it or have seen it maybe in some shape or form. But I'm interested, as our guest, let's start with you. What are some first memories that you have of this film?
Definitely classic, a movie I grew up on, watched it all the time, and was equally interested every time I watched it. It wasn't one of those movies where I ever got sick of it and never wanted to see it again. It was always a movie that I was looking forward to finding all the little pieces that I didn't see before. Always anticipating the tunnel scene, always anticipating, even though you knew what was going to happen after you watch it the first time, you still are like, oh, what's going to happen? And that's really a hallmark of a great movie is being surprised at what you already know is going to happen. And yeah, I just loved it growing up, and rewatching it, enjoyed it as well.
Awesome. I have similar memories. This seemed like it was on all the time growing up, another in the rotation. And I know my parents and family members, it was just one of those movies that everybody stopped what they were doing and watched it, because there were sometimes movies put on in rotation and some like to sit down and watch. They may go off and do other things. Of course, this was back before cell phones even, but I can still have fond memories. This is one everybody kind of stopped what they were doing and wanted to watch it. So I have a lot of fun memories of this, and the quotes are just abundant. We'll probably get into more of them, but I still quote them to this day. It's just in my memory. I'll find myself saying the quote just randomly at times. But with that, you mentioned about the rewatch, but what was your expectations then going back on the rewatch?
Well, this is a film that I'm so familiar with that I didn't really have any expectations, because even though I'm surprised, like I just mentioned, I'm surprised every time I watch it. I am so familiar with it that I just expected to love it all over again, which is exactly what happened. So my expectations were met, and I'm very pleased. It's just such a great movie.
That's great. Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, what are my kids going to think of this one?
Especially a certain scene.
On my checklist. Yes, exactly. That was my expectations, simply put. I mean, like you, I've saw it so many times. I obviously was interested to see, okay, I haven't seen it in a while. I was interested in what maybe my thoughts are now, but I was number one. I got to see what my kids' reaction are, and I'll get into that more as we talk about it. But before we do, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsor.
Love movies as much as we do? Bring the experience of the big screen to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into classics, blockbusters, or indie gems, they've got something for every film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can get 15% off your order now. Just use code Grandma'sHouse15 at checkout. Head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today.
All right. So for our plot rewind, let's take the VHS out of the cover. Let's put it in the VCR and press play. Willy Wonka owns a chocolate factory and hides 5 golden tickets and chocolate bars for his factory tour. Poor young Charlie Bucket manages to find one. He joins 4 other children, spoiled Veruca, gum-chewing Violet, and gluttonous Augustus, and TV-obsessed Mike on a tour through Wonka's incredible chocolate factory. One by one, the badly behaved children face consequences for their vices and are eliminated from the tour, leaving only honest Charlie. When Charlie returns a everlasting gobstopper to Wonka instead of keeping it, he proves his good character and wins the ultimate prize. Wonka gives him the entire chocolate factory as his inheritance. So that is the plot. Let's just jump right into this. I'm so curious. What is your first impressions as you're watching this movie?
You know, it is dated, but it's also one that you can rewatch if you enjoy films from any era, because it just has so much in it. Starting with the opening theme and then going right into the Candyman song. It's so much fun to just see that opening scene with the candy shop, just to see like, oh, that's what a candy store looked like way back then. Seeing how generous the candy clerk was with all of his candy as he was singing about how the Candyman can. Yeah, just what a great opening. And then you see Charlie, poor Charlie, looking in the window, just wanting to be in there and enjoying what the kids were enjoying with them. But, you know, Charlie's from a poor family. So,
yeah, that's what I love about it, how it opens up. It brings in Charlie as that poor, you know, like you said, it's a generous Candyman, but he's still outside. So maybe they slipped him a tab, do you think? And then he just said free candy for him.
Maybe. I really, and they really do lay into the stereotypes of being poor. When you meet Charlie's family, they're eating cabbage water. He goes and he spends his first check from his paper route on a loaf of bread. And the bread is like a banquet. You see, it pans out, you see, you know, the grandparents on the bed. You know, there's 4 of them. They're all in bed in the center of a room, a single room. And you don't find out until later that, yes, there is a separate bedroom where Charlie sleeps. But that's it. They just live in this horrible environment. And so, yeah, I mean, they really show you, okay, this is how this kid lives. And so then you start to root for him. And I really enjoy the portrayal here by Charlie, who's played by Peter Ostrum, who does a wonderful job. Last film we considered, I was talking about how bad the kid actors were. Well, Willy Wonka is the embodiment of how great these kid actors, these child actors are cast and how great they did, because all of them just nailed the roles.
I agree. I think they capture those characters so well. So like you said, Charlie is that honest, hardworking, but poor kid, and then you're seeing the stark contrast of all these kids. They're brats. They even say as much, but in different ways. I mean, one eats so much he just could never stop and be filled up, and is very entitled. Like, you know, the mom's just kind of right there entitling him to everything. You have Veruca's the worst. Am I wrong on that? Like, I can't hardly stand her.
And no one can, and neither can her dad, but doesn't matter because her dad gives her everything she wants and then some, and more and more and more. And it doesn't matter how great of a thing it is that she asks for. Nothing is too far fetched for Veruca's dad. He'll get it right for her no matter what, or he'll find out a way he can't get it for her.
She never, she bothered me as a kid, but that's something on the rewatch I noticed. Like, oh man, she got so It's like you said, you know what to expect, but for some reason she got under my skin more, and that's what they're trying to do, obviously. And well done. That's all I got to say. Like, man, even all these years later, it still gets under you. And then you have Violet. She's just, rude. She chews the gum and kind of chomps on it. There's a scene where she's picking her nose and just like, that's a really gross habit. And I love how Wonka is just like, I know of other habits.
I know a worse one. Yeah.
Worse habit.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Mike he's just obsessed with TV, which, 70s, that's where TV was really starting to blow up. Of course, been out for decades at that time, but that was kind of the thing, obviously, was TV shows. And he's just spoiled. Yeah. Again, he's like, get out of my way. I'm watching TV and all that. So it's you love to hate them. It's like, I would not want to have any of those kids ever, but they play to the plot of what's going on. What Wonka's trying to do is find, ultimately, again, spoilers, so the plot, he's trying to find someone that can take over the chocolate factory. And unfortunately, 4 out of 5 of them are spoiled brats in different ways. So, but let's get right into it. I mean, Gene Wilder is the movie, in my opinion, but I got to hear your thoughts. What do you think of Gene Wilder as the famous Willy Wonka?
I mean, he's a legendary. It's a legendary role, but he makes it legendary. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be able to take it to the level that he takes it to. I as I'm watching this movie too, I'm wondering, like, did he invent sarcasm with the Willy Wonka role? Like, he is like the first sarcastic character you see in a film role, in my memory. And then it kind of goes away for a while, and then now we live in sarcasm. We eat, breathe, and sleep sarcasm. And it's almost like, wow, we're all our own Willy Wonka. We need to cut that out. He's supposed to be looked at from a distance, not your own person. But no, I mean, he was such a great actor. And this was, between this and Young Frankenstein, I mean, those two roles that are just legendary roles, it's all because of Gene Wilder and how great he was.
Yes. I could watch his sarcasm all day. I mean, that's the charm of this movie to me. There's a lot of charming things in this movie. The humor, not just from Gene Wilder, is just superb. There's so many quotes, again, like we talked about, but like, not to jump too much out of going back from Wonka, but the build up of getting that golden ticket. One of my favorite parts is they have a supercomputer trying to locate the last golden ticket up to that point. They all been taken. And he's punching in like a request. I'm asking the computer where the last golden ticket is at. And he's just like, he says, I can't. That would be cheating. Like, that's kind of creepy in a way, because it's like pre-AI.
Right.
Back then, don't you think?
100%. I was going to point that out. So it's called the computation law of probability to find the golden tickets. Yes. And the computer was the Siemens System 4004. And yeah, what a precursor to what we're dealing with 54 years later. It's really creepy because the computer itself found out that, that would be cheating. It's not supposed to know what it's doing is wrong. They're not supposed to think for themselves. But yet, here we are, here we are. We're living it today.
I love little scenes of that. There's like a bunch of little snippets of these random characters. One, the woman like bid on the ticket and her husband gets kidnapped, and it's really dramatic. It almost felt like a different movie. I remember as a kid, like, are we still watching the same movie? But it built this like little scene of like,
the comedy.
They gave,
my goodness. Yeah, the comedy that's involved in that. Like, you really just have to think about it because, I like the style of not making it a montage. There's no music in those scenes. They just cut to them and you're transfixed by them. You're like, wow, what is going on here? And then once you realize it, she's like, she has to think about it because it's her husband's life or the case of Wonka bars. It's like, let me think about it. That's how much you're wrapped up in Wonka frenzy, that golden ticket frenzy. So yeah, I mean, that scene. And then the character of the teacher, I'd like to talk about the teacher for a minute. This is somebody, like, when I think of a British stand-up comic and an acting role, this is what I think of. And I'm not sure of the actor's name, but he just nailed the teacher who thinks he's funnier than he really is and thinks he has this audience he can play to, but they're school children. You're a teacher. You have to be an adult. And the scene where he finds out what all the commotion is in the hallway, and he's like, what's happening? And the kid comes up, and it's just this back and forth scene, and he finds out, and he goes, okay, class dismissed, and he gets ready to put his coat. And then he's like, no, it's not yet. And he's like, okay, class undismissed. And he's like, you're getting prompts from a child in the hallway, and you're doing what he said, what he's telling you to do. And then once he finds out, oh yeah, it's really going on, class redismissed, and they all leave. And then later on, he makes Charlie feel bad for only opening 2 golden tickets when he's trying to figure out the percentages. That's not cool.
Yes.
That's so wrong. You don't make a kid feel awful for being poor. And it's just like a mopey scene after that. But that leads into one of the greatest songs of all time, Cheer Up Charlie. What a beautiful song that is. And the music in general, the soundtrack, I mean, you got the Candyman can in the beginning. You got Cheer Up Charlie. And then you've got I've Got a Golden Ticket. And then Pure Imagination, which Pure Imagination is just an incredible song. These are all simple songs, simple lyrics with deeper meanings. And I love it.
Yes. And that was what I'm going to bring out is this is a musical, but it's a rare time that I didn't feel like it was a musical as crazy. I know that's crazy because I'm not a musical fan. I don't hate them. I'm like, oh, I can take it or leave it. I don't know what it is about this movie, but it just, even though they're singing, yes, it's clearly a musical. It just aids so well with the plot. Like you said, they're really well done. Pure Imagination is like a legendary song. You'll hear it in different media being used. I mean, it's just one of those songs. But yeah, I totally agree with you. They're just fantastic. I love the flow. And to go back to the teacher, yes, I love the teacher because my uncle actually called me Charlie Bucket growing up. I had the hair, like the blonde, dirty going on. So he would say it like that teacher, that Charlie Bucket, hey, Charlie Bucket. And he would quote that line every time. It was so great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
I'm
like Charlie Bucket, you know.
I miss hearing Seth's laugh right now. Like I want to hear Seth laughing at what you just said because it would be great. Oh, I love that. That is so funny that you said that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and then yes, the whole scene with the whole scene with freeloading Uncle Joe. What's his name?
Yes.
Is that his Grandpa Joe? Why did I say Uncle Joe? Grandpa Joe.
I was agreeing with you because there's an uncle in there too, so it's just like they run together.
Yeah, there's an uncle and and the uncle looks older than the grandpa. I don't even know what's going on with that family dynamic there, but but yeah, I mean, so Charlie's poor, but he feels bad because he can't get for his grandpa. But then he's like, I'm quitting tobacco, you know, and he does kind of like he went and spent something, I don't know how, or he didn't go. He sent somebody somewhere for a golden, ticket chance opportunity with a Wonka bar, but it was not to be at that time, at that particular time.
Yeah.
It happened later.
Yeah. It's just great. I think it's got its warm moments like we were talking about. It's full of comedy and funny lines, but it also has heart. It's about, again, this poor family that they're given a chance. And that's kind of the theme of it. If you're honest and good, things can work out for you. I mean, obviously it's like, you're not going to say, well, you're going to get yourself a chocolate factory if you're honest. I mean, that's not what it's trying to say, but it's a good value, I think, overall. And that's what you want in a film. You feel good after you watch it. And that's what that ending does so well, of all these kids kind of get what's coming to them. I mean, one by one, they're, ending in very horrific fashion, sucked up a tube, one blows up to be big and is going to be squeezed, so on and so forth. But point being, Charlie is rewarded the chocolate factory because the everlasting gobstopper is a secret ingredient that this rival wants, and they make it look like that rival had made a deal with all of them. So I just love that. I love the plot, how it all comes full circle and works out.
I also love that there's moral in the way that they go away, because you got Augustus, he was gluttonous, he drank from the pond and fell in and got sucked up in the tube. And then you got Violet, her bad habit was chewing gum all the time. And so that's what did her in. She chewed the gum, she turned into a giant blueberry, and they rolled her away to get juiced. And then you had Mike TV, and Mike TV was obsessed with TV. So he immediately stood in front of the ray, which shrunk him down into the TV land. And then you got good old Veruca, who had to have the goose with the golden egg. She just had to. And so that's what it did her. And so it was their vices that ended up putting him away. So I like the moral behind that too.
I didn't catch Veruca's either at first because, like you said, they kind of match. But it's really clever. Of these are golden eggs, but some are bad.
Right.
And the way that Veruca is treated, it's almost like she's this golden egg, but in reality, when she's on the scale, she's bad. So I thought that was a really neat touch when you think about it. It's not as clear cut as the others.
And the pun was like perfect timing with the pun with Willy Wonka, where he says she was a bad egg. And then calls for the Oompa Loompa. So it's like, oh, the quotes. Can we get into some of these quotes now? Oh my goodness.
Just open them up. Yes. What are some quotes that stuck out to you?
Obviously, we just went over she was bad. So the one I opened up with, who ever heard of a snozzberry? Now, what's always funny to me is I never caught that his response to that was another, like, one of the most popular quotes of all time, which is, "We are the music makers. And we are the dreamers of dreams." That was his response to Veruca saying, "Whoever heard of a snozzberry?" I never remembered that at all. So it was funny to see that. And I love when Willy Wonka goes, "I'm sorry, but all questions must be submitted in writing." And that was just like his way of blowing off whatever they kept bugging him about. But yeah, his sarcastic humor where he steps back while they're all trying to get him to do something about Augustus falling into the river, when he goes, "Stop, don't come back." Like, he just stays back and, like, he said what he needed to say. They didn't listen. And so now he can, I wish I could do that in life and just not care about anything else that happens after my initial, "Hey, stop doing that," but no, you can't do that. So
That's
absolute
where sarcasm comes in.
My absolute favorite thing would have to be, this is like one of the funniest things in the movie to me, is when they go right into the factory after going through the small door, but when they open it up, it's gigantic for somehow. When he goes, "Everything in the room is edible, even I'm edible, but that would be called cannibalism. It is looked down on in most society." Like, what? Like, why even mention that? And then, like, right before that, he goes, or no, this was when they were in the factory. He says, "Invention is 93% perspiration, 6% electricity, 4% evaporation, and 2% butterscotch ripple." And one of the moms goes, "That's 105%. Like, he doesn't care. Like, whatever. Oh my goodness. And then this is going to be the last one because there's so many of them. But when he says, don't forget what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he wanted. He lived happily ever after." I just love that. That's so
That's not
the thing you should be thinking, but it's great. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's so many fun, like you said, it's almost like if you're not paying attention, you can't keep up with it. I agree with your quotes there. I'll throw a few more in there that I like is the part, I think he's getting sucked up the tube. That was with Augustus. He's like, "The suspense is killing me. I hope it'll last."
Oh yeah, I hope it'll last. I love that.
Yes. And I think it was Mike who was yelling. He, like, yells real loud and he's like, "I'm a trifle deaf in this ear. Could you speak a bit louder next time?" Again, the sarcasm. Just I wrote down some, but there's so many. It's perfect. And of course you have, like you said, the "stop, don't come back." That I had that written down. I actually found myself, this isn't funny or anything, but I just say this to my kids because I've got multiple children. I'll be giving them stuff. And if I forget one, because they're giving the everlasting gobstoppers out, they're like, "Hey, what about Charlie?" And he goes, "And one for Charlie."
Nice.
I actually will do that with my kids.
I love it.
Oh, and one for Charlie.
That's great.
Got so many quotes in it. I love it though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we could again go on and on. There's so much we could touch about this movie and unpack. And I think we can say we kind of had a fun time going back through and viewing them. But Seth, when he's on here, he loves to share some fun facts. So Ajax, you're filling in for Seth. So thank you again for doing that. But you have some fun facts.
I do.
Very interested to hear what you found.
All right. So first fun fact, after reading the script, Gene Wilder said he would take the role of Willy Wonka under one condition, that he would be allowed to limp and suddenly somersault in the scene where he first meets the children, because from that time on, no one would know if he were lying or telling the truth. And that was his deal breaker. That's what got him the role, because he was allowed to do that. And it was a secret. And so the actual actors, the child actors, had no idea. And some of them were indeed fooled by him doing this. And so that's how he was able to get real reactions from him the entire rest of the way through the factory. So I thought that was awesome. The second one I have for you. This one is funny. The Oompa Loompas were known for hard partying off set, even traveling in a limo together to bars. So I love the idea of, and for me, I'm sure that they were not still in their full makeup, but and dress, but I would love the idea of just people just watching this limo pull up to a bar and see these little people get out, full makeup, all the dress, just go into a bar and just start chugging beers. I'm like that'd be hilarious. Oh my goodness. All right, and then
that would be crazy.
A final fun fact. When Gene Wilder, this one's a little somber, but when Gene Wilder died in 2016, the actor that played Charlie, Peter Ostrum, changed his social media profile to former child actor, veterinarian, inherited a chocolate factory on August 29th, 2016. So that's when Gene Wilder passed. And then, that was the whole thing that, hey, when Gene Wilder died, when Willy Wonka died, his family would take over and inherit the chocolate factory. So yep, very sweet that he did that. And yeah, it's just funny that the actor who played Charlie never had another role after Willy Wonka. Like, you didn't see him in anything because he wanted to take care of animals. He got a horse, and that horse inspired him to get into veterinarianism. Is that a word? Veterinarianism? Become a veterinarian. He became one.
Sounds right, but
took care of animals after his acting job. So there you go. So there's your fun facts.
New word for the day.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, did you have a trivia fun fact to share?
Oh, yes, I do. So are you ready for this trivia question, Isaac? Okay, here we go.
I'm hyping myself up the best I can, so yes.
All right,
I'm ready.
This has to do with the opening credit sequence. All right, the opening credit sequence was filmed at A, the famous Hershey Chocolate Factory in Hershey, Pennsylvania, B, a Toblerone factory in Switzerland, C, the Ghirardelli Square in San Francisco, or D, the Barry Callebaut in Belgium.
Oh, man. I could see them all, but something is telling me I'm just going to go with it, and I'm probably going to be wrong because I have been most of the time on these trivia questions, but something's telling me Switzerland, so I'm going to lock that in.
You think it's Switzerland? Well, you would be right. It is the Toblerone factory in Switzerland. That's where all the opening scenes were filmed with the little doodads hitting the chocolate. And yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah.
Yes.
Your streak has been being broken now. You're doing well. I would have failed miserably.
Yes, thank you. I thought I was too. So I'm like, I could see all of those, but there's something about the chocolate. It looks so authentic. And I know Switzerland has some pretty amazing chocolate. So that's what stuck out to me was I bet and Switzerland is, I would think a lot closer than California if they were doing that in England, if that's where the filming and everything took place. But that was just hey, I'll take my wins. They don't come very often, so I'm gonna enjoy this one. So thank you for that, AJ.
You're most welcome.
All right. So let's consider, before we get to our ratings, our reviews, just a few that are around the net. This one is for Seth because Seth does like to look at the reviews as well. We have a repeat offender. This is off the IMDb. We have Smells Like Cheese, and they gave it a 10 out of 10. They just said pure goodness. So they gave it a high ranking there, and I just wanted to give that as a shout out to Seth because I know Smells Like Cheese has given their review on some of the past ones we've covered. Here's another one from Hitchcock the Legend. Also gave this one a 10 out of 10. They said, "So shines a good deed in a weary world." I really like that quote too.
Yeah, we left that one out, really, but good. That's a classic quote at the end of the movie there. Yep.
So many good. Yeah, I know we've skipped over so many. Comment below any of your quotes. We'd love to hear what your favorite quotes are. I'm sure so many that we missed out on. The last one I have is Evanston Dad. He gave it a 5 out of 10. He said, I can't forgive it for not being the book. What do you think of that, though? I mean, I've never read the book. I'll be honest. But what do you think? Is that a knock on this movie for not being like the book?
I mean, we're talking about an era of film where it's about the experience in the theater and really, also just experiencing movies in general. And so I think it is forgiven at that time period. And then, of course, it was redone and closer to the book in the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp. But, it was directed by Tim Burton, who took many liberties as well. So the book is there to, provide a launching pad for the movie, a catalyst. And so I think in this case, we're talking about a family movie, it's really, for me, I don't think this one makes too much of a difference as far as whether or not it should be like the book. I mean, there are certain series and certain movies that, yes, I agree with that on, but this one, you must have really liked the book for it to have that much of an impact, because this movie is incredible. So
yeah, 5 out of 10. I mean, that's pretty harsh. I've thought, that's a shame. It's not like the book, but I if you're going to knock it down quite a bit, I think 5 isn't a terrible. 5 is just average. That's how I look at it. There's nothing special about a 5 if I'm going to give it that rating out of 10. But yeah, pretty interesting. I've never heard of someone say they hated it because it wasn't like the book. I've heard about other movies, but not that one. So just thought that was pretty interesting. So those are the reviews, but let's get down to it. Let's hear our reviews. I'm going to start with you, Ajax, first, because you're special guest. I will say I did get Seth's rating, so I'm going to share his after yours. I'm going to let you have the honors, though. So I'm going to ask you the question. For the 1971 Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, how are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to leave it at Grandma's? Are you going to hide it in the attic?
Oh, I'm going to take it home and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to play it forever, over and over and over again. A fantastic movie, ability times 1,000. It's 100% take it home.
All right. So we got to take it home. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to read you what Seth shared with me. He said, it's a wacky movie that brings back a lot of nostalgia with good memories and bad. I would leave this at Grandma's. So once we have Seth back on, we'll have to have him kind of expound on that. But he's going to leave it at Grandma's. I agree with him there. He says there's a lot of nostalgia. So it sounds like he had that as well for his rating. I'm going to be with you, though, Ajax. I'm not going to pull any punches, like hide anything back. I love this movie still to this day. It's got some dark tones. We didn't touch on it too much, but that tunnel scene, that's pretty intense and scary. I do find it, in my dark humor, I guess, hilarious because of how freaked out the people are. I think that's a fun fact that, going back to, the cast did not know he was going to do that. Like, all of that was improvised, or at least they didn't know it was going to be so dark and scary and all that stuff. So those are real reactions, the screams and stuff. But I still enjoy this movie. I mean, it really captures your imagination. It just makes you feel like a kid again. I mean, chocolate factories, come on. That's like every kid's dream, I think, if that or a toy factory of some kind. It still makes you feel like a kid again. Here I am, all these years later, I'm watching it again, and my kids seem to like it. I mean, they don't like musicals. That's one thing. I didn't bring out their thoughts as much as I thought. I guess I do a terrible job of that. They liked it. They thought it was funny. They laughed and such, but I'm going to have to get them over that musical thing. Like I said, I'm not a big musical guy either, but that was their knock against it. So I can't wait to revisit this one again. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to look forward to watching it again with my kids. Maybe they'll get over it and we can have a good time and laugh together.
Nice.
So we got our reviews, but now we have to hear from Grandma. So Ajax, what is Granny's family-friendly rating for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
All right. So because of the aforementioned tunnel scene, a lot of dark themes and peril. And so for that reason, just because of the intensity of that scene for young kids, we're talking about a very, very intense tunnel scene. And that's really the reason why Grandma's rating is a solid C+.
There you go. Yeah, it's just be forewarned. I mean, I remember there's a little bit of adult themes throughout, but they're very subtle. You're going to miss them. I don't think Grandma's even going to pick up on some of those, but they're very subtle. But the tunnel scene kind of did it. Even to this day, all these years later, I was like, whoa, I'm kind of afraid for my kids. Like, I hope this doesn't give them nightmares. And I don't know, my dark humor, I don't remember having nightmares from it, but I can remember some people being like, yeah, I had nightmares for a long time after seeing it. So, yeah, might be something grandma won't really like too much, but just keep that in mind. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's another movie in the books. Big thank you to you, Ajax, for filling in for Seth. Again, he sends his regards, but he also thanks you for filling in. And as our guest, we want to make sure, for those who don't know about you already, please tell the good people where they can connect and follow with you and any projects that you have going on.
Sure. Well, you can find me on most socials at Ajax2727, on TikTok at broken_spatulas. If you like dog walking dad jokes and you like They Might Be Giants lyrical dramatic readings, I do some of those. I am working on a new podcast called Cover Wars about cover songs, and that you can actually find on Facebook right now under Cover Wars Podcast. And we're also going to be on YouTube at Cover Wars Podcast, and got a TikTok at Cover Wars. There you go.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, go check him out. And again, thank you so much for coming in and filling in for Seth. He is looking forward to getting back. He's itching to consider some of these movies, but we'll be sure to go back and get some of his thoughts on Willy Wonka. I'm really interested to hear what kind of nostalgia he had with this film.
Me too.
But as far as movies at Grandma's house, you can, of course, find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. We have a newsletter, so sign up for that because we do have our monthly contest courtesy of movieposters.com, where you can win a free poster of your choice. So if you are not already, go subscribe to our newsletter. There's lots of goodies in there. We are going to just keep building on it because right now we have some free digital things you can download, and we are looking to add to it. I'll leave it at that. You're just going to have to stay tuned. Well, that's going to do it for our time at Grandma's house. But don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.